Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and we're on the common test 9.5 test server. Now the first thing I'll apologise is that you're likely to get some coffee on this video. I've had a cold for a few days, but common test's up. This is something I've been waiting for, so I'll just apologise in advance for any coughing that happens. Unfortunately, this is actually the second time I've recorded this video because the common test, being a test, crashed on me. Not good when you're doing a garage review. Anyway, some of you, well, quite a few of you actually, looked at my 9.5 preparation video. So let's have a look at the tech tree and actually see how far on the mark or off the mark, as the case may be, I was. So here's the new British tech tree. You've got the Lend-Lease line coming across here, and then coming off the Valentine, excuse me a minute, we've got the Archer, the Achilles, the Challenger, the Charioteer, Conway, and FE 4005. And the Challenger also comes off the Firefly line. Interestingly, they could have put a vertical link off the Valentine up to the Grant as well, because the Grant effectively replaced the Valentine and the Matilda. You could have gone down from the Matilda as well, but they didn't do that. Anyway, the main thing I'm looking at is, was I right with the stats? I've just been listening to Jingle's video. I did hope to get this out promptly, but Jingle's beat me to it. He thinks that a lot of these 17-pounders are placeholders. I'm not sure I agree with him. Let's look at the AT-15A, sorry. That's got that gun, the 17-pounder AT Mark 7. It's got 0.32 aiming time, 1.9 aim, sorry, 3.2 dispersion, 171 pen, 150 alpha. Alright, so close that down, go to the Archer. .9 aiming time, it's slower aiming time, it's less accurate, but it's got the same 171 pen and 150 damage. So that, you know, it's the same gun, and quite often you will see in World of Tanks lower tier tanks with the same gun getting slightly worse accuracy. So that makes sense. And to be honest, it doesn't need the accuracy because it's firing against stuff. Most of the stuff it can fire against, it can hit, you know, as long as it can hit it, it can damage it. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's the only change. It's just less accurate, but it's 2 tiers lower. So seems fair to me. And in fact, if we then go up to the Challenger, which is at tier 7 and gets exactly the same gun, we're down to 0.33 dispersion, which is actually a hair worse than the AT-15A. It's got better aiming time, which is actually quicker than the AT-15A. Good rate of fire, better than the Archer, and the same pen and damage, which is exactly what we'd expect. So no surprises there. So certainly for the top 17-pounders, apart from perhaps tweaks to the accuracy and the aim time, I'm expecting them not to change. However, what they have done, and this is where it gets interesting, I didn't actually expect this, because to me a 17-pounder is a 17-pounder, and I'm sure there were versions of it, but I don't think the versions actually had quite the differences that you actually are seeing in this on the test server. So Archer costing 19,340 research costs. So if you've got that much XP bottled up in your Valentine, you can unlock her straight away. And if you've got the sorry, but you will have to unlock the 17-pounder because it's not. No, sorry, that's right. You'll have to unlock the the first 17-pounder. This was talking about the two. There's extra 17-pounders in the game now. You'll have to unlock this one, but you can mount this one straight away if you've gone down the AT7, the AT8, or the AT15, and you'll have to go through the AT8 to get to the other two. excuse me. But you have, so you can mount that straight away, and it'll mount without tracks, although you might want the tracks for manoeuvrability and traverse. But it will mount without the tracks. You could mount the top engine. It's going to give you an extra 27 horsepower, which might be worth it, because it's still quite low powered, so you might want the top engine. Depends whether you're going to play the Archer. If you're just going to power straight through to the Achilles, you mount that straight away. The top radio almost certainly got, and that's common throughout all of these, the top radio almost certainly got from elsewhere in the British line, and these Mark 8s come in quite early. Crusader's got it. I think the Matilda carries the same one. No, but the Sexton 2 has, and in fact, we'll see later. Go get the Sexton. If I look at the tech tree, go back to the tech tree. Sexton 2's down here at tier 3. It's the British tier 3 artillery. That engine, which you could probably unlock in a couple of 3 games if you win a couple on the Sexton. You know, Lloyd gun carriage, you all know tier 2s you can get through fairly quickly. Sexton 2, get that engine. You've then got the top engine for some of the later tanks. So it's, you know, you do it down here and you're saving yourself a bit of XP later on. So back to the tech tree. So this is the Archer. So yeah, so you don't need that top engine, but you can unlock it if you want. It's unique to the Archer. It's one of the few engines in the British tech tree that's unique. This gun will cost you 5,500, but you'll never buy it, because if I was you, I'd go to the effort of unlocking that via the other lines. And then the Achilles itself is 29,000, so about 35,000 XP will get you the Achilles. This gun, if you don't have that and really don't want to go down the AT line, then it's got 143 pen, which is, and this will say, is noticeably down on the pen of the proper 17 pen, which is 171. This is almost a 77mm kind of. This is, in fact, I think it might even be comparable to the 77mm stats. Which is something I literally just thought about. Where's the 77? There. Oh no, it's actually worse than the 77. So this is a really weird 17 pounder. It doesn't make sense, because the OQF 77mm was a 17 pounder with a modified breech taking a shorter, wider cartridge and a slightly shorter barrel, and therefore, although I'm not sure its pen was that much worse in real life than the 17 pounder, it did have worse pen. Therefore, there was never a 17 pounder that actually had worse pen than the 77mm. So this is one which you might see the stats change, because the stats just don't make sense. They're okay. We all know that World of Tanks is an arcade game, but it is still based on real tanks, and to a degree, you know, the guns are what, you know, they've got some historical significance to them. So this doesn't make sense at the moment. This is right. If they stick with the 7 as the top gun on the Archer, I'd expect to see those stats. You might get, as I say, dispersion and aiming time might change, but that's all I'd expect. But this one is wrong. I don't understand why they haven't put an AT version of this in, which would make more sense. And I hope they do, because it just fits better. If they want a lower pen gun, they've got one. It's the OQF 77. That 5mm pen isn't going to make a lot of difference, and it means that when you go to the Top Gun, you get an alpha buff as well, because the alpha's a bit lower on the 77. Shouldn't be exactly the same caliber, but it is. So you could go for the OQF 77 and then upgrade it to the 17 pounder. That would make quite a lot of sense. And you won't have the OQF 77, because it would be an OQF 77 Gun Mark II AT, or AT Gun Mark II. And in fact, it does look like this is meant to be. When you actually look at it, it's the gun OQF 17 pounder AT gun Mark II. Well, shouldn't it be a gun OQF 77mm gun Mark II and actually have 148 pen? I think they made a bit of a labelling boo and a slight stats boob there. So that's the first of the new. That's the Archer. I'm going to play this. This might even become a bit of a pimp tank for me because I just think it'd be so much fun to play. I think it'd be real fun to play. It'll be relatively mobile. It's a Valentine for Pete's sake, and the hull will be a bit trollish, but the actually the hull won't be trollish because you're facing the back of the darn thing. But it ought to be very sneaky. It's based on a light tank and it's still quite low, and it's got one hell of a gun on it. Move to the Achilles, obviously a slugger with 17 pounder, and you've got to unlock the second turret. You can't install the top gun without unlocking the turret. So you've got two turrets on this. That's the top turret, and that's the base turret. So basically, to mount the 17 pounder, they had to put a bigger counterweight on the back of it. Put the 17 pounder back in. There we go. So that's got, once again, the 17 pounder is Mark 7. And again, I believe those stats will be correct. It's also got a Mark 5. And that's got the stats from the 77. So again, what? But they're calling it a Mark 5, not a Mark 2. So again, I think those stats are correct. Those stats don't make sense at all. This should be, you know, this gun should be closer to that. That's a weird gun. Again, why not just drop the OQF 77 in there? It would reduce the grind, of course, by 5,700. But if you wanted to, you know, just chuck it onto the Challenger. The Challenger is actually cheaper this route than it is on the Firefly. So, you know, take it off that, or make that the OQF 77. You've still got. Maybe even increase the duckbill slightly, take it to 6,000 research cost, something like that. You've got engines. You've got the top engine is from the AT7. So if you've got the AT7 engine, you can go straight to the top engine. I can't remember whether you've got to mount the tracks or not. They give you an extra 3 tons and 2 degrees of traverse speed. This is the Challenger. It's based on the Cromwell, so it's a fast mobile tank. It's got one turret. Now we're at tier 7 and we've got the 17 pounder. Sorry, it's got 2 turrets. It's got the Avenger turrets as well, I apologise. Again, it's got this top one, which I expect roughly to stay the same. And we've got the we've gone back to the Mark II, which we saw in the Archer, but we didn't see in the Achilles. Yeah, when they say placeholder stats, I'm sure it'll be these lower end 17 pounders, not the top end 17 pounder. I'm sure the top end 17 pounder is right because it's matching up with all the other current 17 pounders in the game. Again, that should be the 77. So I think they should drop that and replace it with the 77. Just look at the comment for the stats for that, as I say. So that'd be that. Then you've got the top turret, which you've got to unlock. So that's 11,000 for the top turret. This you'll already have. So it's going to cost you 117,000 to get the Charioteer. As you can see, I haven't actually bought unlocked the tracks on here, but I've got everything else. So you don't need the tracks. The tracks give you 6 degrees of traverse speed and 3 tons of load. So although I haven't unlocked it just to get through on the test server, I will unlock it. If I enjoy this tank, I will unlock it, and I probably will enjoy this tank. I could see my garage needing some more space. And I'm going to need a heck of a lot more AT crews. The turret traverse is a bit slow, 16 on the top, 14 on the bottom. So that's a bit like a, oh God, my memory's gone. The American thing, what's it called? Memory like a sieve. Hellcat. How can you forget the Hellcat? Probably so driving, never liked it. So the traverse speed of the turret is sort of comparable to a Hellcat. It's obviously got a better gun than the Hellcat. And it's a tier higher. It's going to be interesting to play this because this gun is it struggles against tier 9s frontally, but you've got a fast mobile tank which traverses quite quickly. The turret doesn't traverse particularly quickly, but you may still be able to get round and circle tier 9 heavies, and from the side at the back that 17 pound will go through no problem at all. You may so at the higher tiers you may be treating this much more like a medium than a tank destroyer. Let's say the Firefly also gets you to the Challenger, and it's a slightly cheaper grind. You do have yet another 17 pounder on the Firefly, but we'll go back to that in a minute. Onto the Charioteer. Again, this is based on the Cromwell, but it's got a different turret, and this is where we've for the record there was a yes there will, no there won't. Well, currently yes there is. Normally, well, the AT line of tanks, which is the AT-15 at this level at tier 8, uses the 20 pounders, so they're type A and type B, and lo and behold they come off as expected, as I said in a pre-preview video. Comes off the AT-15, but it also gets the 105. Now, I often I've often thought that this needed to go on the AT-15. We've got it on here on the Charioteer, is it? Yeah. And this is the top British medium tank gun at tier 8 on a tank destroyer. This is the first time I think you're really seeing a really very potent gun. I mean, this gun is nasty at this level. 268 average pen, 390 average damage, 480 with Hesh, and the Hesh has got 210 pen, so you can really get things nasty with this. 0.35 dispersion, 2.5 aiming time, and it's 6 rounds a minute almost. So reload just over 10 seconds with a decent crew. You may even get under 10 seconds. That's going to hurt. Only available on the Charioteer. I'll say it's not available on the AT-15, and because it's as has been all the way through the British line, it is an AT specific gun. You will need to unlock it, and it costs you 55,000 research points. But the quick fire 20 pounder is not a bad gun. It's low on a bit low on alpha, but it's got decent pen, and it is perfectly, it'll work at tier 8. It works on the AT-15, so it'll work here. And of course you're on a mobile tank again, so although you've got the slow traverse, again 18 degrees on the turret, your top tracks are 36 degrees traverse speed, so not bad at all. Moving on to tier 9, we've got the Conway. Once again, engines. I mean, the top engine on this you've almost certainly got if you've gone down the Centurion line or the British heavier tank line. So again, I've said that before. The Meteor, which is the tier below, also can be seen on the Carnarvon and the Cent Mark 1. So you can have a decent engine or the top engine, and you gain 200 brake horsepower, so it's well worth going for the top engine. You get the 20-minute 120 AT L1A1, which is essentially exactly the same gun as on the Tortoise, the 215B, well, not 215B, Conqueror. No, it's on both, isn't it? It's on the Conqueror and the 215B. But it's an AT version, so if you've got the Tortoise, you've already got that gun unlocked. But this is actually where I think you see this twice in this new line. If you get to the Conway first, you automatically unlock the top gun for the Tortoise. So if you're currently grinding down the British tank destroyer line and maybe doing other bits of tanks or whatever, when it gets to tier 9, it's almost worth you saying, right, I've got the tortoise, I'll wait till I get the Conway, because I'll automatically unlock the top gun for the tortoise, and then you can carry on with the tortoise grind. Because that's costing you no XP. It comes with the tank. You only need to unlock the tracks before getting the 215B, and it's a 259,000 XP research cost, plus the tracks at 23,000, so just shy of 290,000 XP, or just over 280,000 XP. And here's the top tank, which is has got this monster. Slightly quicker rate of fire than and it's slightly more accurate than the Death Star. And Jingles has already given this a name. It's Death Star 2. As he pointed out, there's 2 Death Stars in Star Wars, so we can have 2 Death Stars in the game. So this is the Death Star 2, and I quite like that name, so we're going to stick with it. Well, I am at any rate, so I've stuck with it. Jingles invented it. We'll go with that. Slightly more accurate, 3-second aiming time, but with a 30-second reload, the chances are you're waiting for it to... it's fully aimed well before it's reloaded. Don't know how stealthy this thing will be. It's based on the Centurion, so it's quite mobile. It's not really any quicker than the Death Star, but it's probably going to be more mobile, you know, maintain speed better over open ground, even though weirdly the Death Star has actually got slightly better power to rate ratio, and it's a much more powerful engine. It's weird that this has got the meter engine, which is only 650 horsepower. That may change because, as I say, in the Conway you've got the Griffin, so you go from the Griffin engine and then suddenly go back down to that, and you're not, you know, what you'll get if they put the Griffin in instead is something that's a lot quicker. So a lot, it'll just maintain speed better. It's not going to be any quicker. It's just going to be a bit more mobile. So I hope the engine gets a buff, and it can do. You just drop either you just drop the Meteor VC 6C in, which is 750 horsepower. You know, tier 5 engine. I mean, they put it down as a tier 10 engine. It's not. It's a tier 5 engine. Apart from name, it's labelled as a 4B, but that's also a 4B. So I'm not sure quite what's going on there with the engine. So that might be a placeholder engine. Anyway, so that's the TD line. There's also the Lend-Lease line. You've got the M2 at, which I think is effectively a T2. You've got Stuart at 3. Then you've got the Grant. And this is the way things get a little interesting. We've got fictitious guns. Yeah, you saw the 17 pounders are a bit odd. We also get the 6 pounders, which is odd because, as far to the best of my knowledge, we never saw the 6 pounders on the American line in the war. They just never fitted them because, whilst the 6 pounder was the better anti-tank gun, and in my opinion it still is the better anti-tank gun, so although the 75's got better alpha, you get 13 extra pen on this 6 pounder. So I will, if I get the Grant, I will almost certainly get the 105 or mount that, because also that comes off the Cromwell and the Crusader and the Valentine. So at tier 4 is exactly the same gun on the Valentine, so you can get it on the Valentine and you've got it for all the other tanks, or get it on the Crusader. I like the Crusader, so it's worth getting the Crusader. You will have to unlock the Gun M3, which is unique to the Lend-Lease line. 75 M2 is just on the Grant. So coming into here, you've got the top gun. Oh well, you might have unlocked the bottom gun, which is also on the Crusader. Oh no, that's the one that was on the Grant. So you will have unlocked that probably. But you might also have the Gun Mark 5. This is the 6 pounder Gun Mark 5, which also sits on the Crusader and the Valentine. They've both got 2 6 pounders. So the grind for this, you can see you don't need the tracks. The tracks give you 2 degrees of traverse speed. The turret traverse at the same speed, so it's ought to be quite mobile. But I never feel this. I don't like the Shermans. I prefer the Cromwell by a long way. You do get as a top gun the 76 Mark M1A1. So what you'll probably be doing is something like load the 6-pounder to give you a better gun than the M3. Research the top turret, load the Mark 5 to give you another. It gives you another. It's 110 pen. Then research the 76, which is this one here. And the reason you research the M6 there, the 76 there, is that you lose the 6-pounders on the Firefly, and you're forced to go back to to the gun M3, which is losing 13 pen, which at this level is starting to be noticeable. But if you research 76 M1A1 at 5, you've got it here at 6. You've then got another turret to research, which will be the turret with a bustle on the back with the radio in it. Then you've got another new 17-pounder, which has got those placeholder stats in it again. Although I say it's got the placeholder stats, that's actually the stats. That is placeholder stats, but that's the stats for the 77. Yeah, why haven't they put the 77 in there? Again, it might be down to XP, but you can always buff the XP of the turret a little bit. That should be the 77. That is the stats of the 77 from the Comet. So hopefully they'll put the 77 in there. The other gun they haven't used is of course the 75 that the Cromwell uses, and they could have put that in here as well. But no, that should be the 77 because that is the stats for the 77. Top gun is same as on the Black Prince, the Carnarvon, and the Centurion Mark 1. So if you've got any of those, you already have it here. But this is where I was saying about. You remember I mentioned earlier that the getting the Conway is better before the Tortoise. It's the same here. If you've got the Firefly and you get the 17-pounder, you also get the Top Gun for the Black Prince and the Black Prince and the Centurion Mark 1. Now, if you look at the British tech tree, if you're not familiar with it, Black Prince is at 7, one tier above the Firefly, and starts with the 77. So they've used 77 here. Why they're not using it on the Firefly, I don't know. Which has got those stats. There you go, 148 pen, the same as the Firefly. But you've also got the 17-pounder as the second gun. So if you've unlocked this at a tier lower on the Firefly, you've already got the top gun on the Black Prince. And the other tank that uses it is the Centurion. And again, it starts with the 17-pounder. So again, you can go straight onto the 77mm. So again, you go straight onto the 17-pounder. Even though it's a bit heavier, I don't think there is really a weight issue with using that. So if you haven't gone down the medium line on the British tanks, the main British line is on the top here, I would highly recommend it. It's a superb line. But maybe also grab the Firefly if you fancy the Firefly, especially if you like Shermans, because you can unlock the 17-pounder before you get to the Cent 1, and it just makes Cent 1 grind a lot easier. And the Black Prince line easier as well. I do like that. You know, that's a decent tank. That is actually a decent tank. I know everyone drives IS-3s, but this is actually quite a capable tank. And the turret can get quite bouncy, especially if you get the turret's bouncy and the hull can be bouncy. But anyway, we're not talking about those at the moment. So basically, that's the lineup. You're almost certainly 3 XP your way through there. If you've got 20,000 in the Valentine, you can get the Archer straight away. If you've already got done the 88, or at least got the Top Gun on the 88, you'll have the Top Gun for the Archer. And so the grind isn't that bad. A lot of the little ancillary components are already there. Going the challenge, I didn't really talk about the engines. Well, that top engine is the same as in the Cromwell. No surprise there, it's a Cromwell hull, and once again, its Top Gun is in the Cromwell. So if you've already got the Cromwell, you've got the top guns for a lot of these, top engines, sorry, for a lot of these tanks. The radios you're never even going to touch, and once you research them once, you're done. So these grinds are going to be fairly easy, and there's some really nice and interesting tanks in there. Anyway, so that's the change to the British tech tree. What else we've got? What's the change in the Russians? Oh no, it was the Germans who've got new. Isn't there a new tank in here? Can't remember. Anyway, I can't remember. The main reason this video is this one anyway. So that's basically how it looks. I'm really excited with this line. Looking forward to it. I'm going to have a lot of fun on this line. But it cost me a bit of golden cruise, because I'll probably get a lot of 100% cruise. But yeah, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that, and hope you enjoy playing this line when it comes out. It's going to be brilliant. Can't wait. That's it for now. Ta-ra.